When I first moved into Maplewood Estates, I thought I'd found peace. After years of city noise, sirens, and insomnia, the quiet cul-de-sacs and the smell of rain-soaked pavement felt like therapy. My house was modest but clean, a beige single-story with a small porch and enough room for my dog, Milo, to run around. I didn't know anyone at first, but that was fine. I was tired of people. It was only after a week that I noticed the house across the street. The one everyone seemed to pretend wasn't there. It was old, maybe from the 50s, with chipped white paint and a sagging porch. Curtains hung in every window, drawn tight no matter the hour. The lawn was overgrown, and a rusted sedan sat crooked in the driveway like it hadn't moved in years. But sometimes, at night, I saw lights flicker on inside. Once, I caught the silhouette of someone standing in the upstairs hallway, perfectly still. I told myself it was my imagination, or maybe a reflection, but the longer I lived there, the harder it became to convince myself of that. My neighbor, Mrs. Finch, was the first to mention it. She was an older woman who always wore floral blouses and spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. When I asked her about the house, her face turned rigid, like I'd asked something obscene. "Don't bother them," she said, eyes darting toward the street. "They keep to themselves. Best if you do the same." Her words should have been enough, but curiosity is a stubborn thing. That night, I kept my blinds cracked open just a little, waiting to see if the upstairs light would flicker again. It did, and this time, the figure seemed closer to the window. Over the next few days, strange things began happening. I'd wake up to find muddy footprints on my front steps, too large to be mine, too narrow to belong to anyone else I knew. Milo would growl at the window every night around 2, his eyes locked on that same house across the street. Sometimes I'd hear faint knocking sounds, irregular and distant, like someone tapping on glass. One morning, I found a Polaroid photo wedged under my doormat, a picture of my own house, taken from across the street. The timestamp read 2:03 a.m. That night, I called the police. They did a quick sweep, found nothing, and told me it was probably a prank. But as one of the officers left, I caught him glancing toward the house across the street. "You live opposite that place?" he asked quietly. I nodded. His jaw tightened. "Keep your doors locked," he said before getting into his cruiser. As his taillights disappeared down the road, I looked back at the house. The upstairs light was on again, and this time, the figure wasn't standing still. It was waving. After the police left, I sat on my couch with every light on. Milo wouldn't stop pacing, growling low whenever he passed the front window. I couldn't stop thinking about that Polaroid, the way it was placed perfectly under the mat, the timestamp that matched the time the light always came on. I'd planned to throw it away, but something in me wanted proof that I wasn't imagining this. I slipped it into a drawer and told myself to get some sleep, that I must have dozed off around midnight. The sound that woke me wasn't loud, just a soft, deliberate knock. Then another. Then silence. I froze, half asleep, listening. Milo whimpered at my bedroom door, his nails clicking against the wood. I reached for my phone. 2:03 a.m. My first thought was that maybe the police had come back, or maybe a neighbor. But when I looked through the peephole, no one was there. The next morning, I found another Polaroid. This one stuck to my front door with tape. It was closer this time, zoomed in on my porch steps. I called the police again, but they barely hid their annoyance. "Look, sir," one of them said, "we checked that house. It's empty. Has been for years." He sounded tired, like he'd had this conversation before. When I asked who used to live there, he hesitated, then said quietly, "You don't want to know." That afternoon, I noticed something new. In my backyard, just along the fence line, were tiny holes, like someone had been digging. I followed them to the far corner, where I found something half buried in the dirt, another Polaroid. This one wasn't of my house. It was of me, standing at the window the night before, staring out at the house across the street. I could see the faint outline of my own reflection in the glass. But behind me, in the darkness of my living room, was another figure that was the moment I stopped sleeping in the house. I packed a bag and took Milo to a motel on the edge of town. But even there, I couldn't escape it. The first night, I woke to the sound of knocking again, softer this time, like it came from inside the walls. When I checked my phone, the screen glitched for a moment, freezing on the time, 2:03 a.m. The motel clock read the same. And when I turned on the light, there was a fresh Polaroid on the nightstand. It showed the motel room door, and something standing right outside it. It started with a dare, the kind that makes your stomach tighten even before you agree to it. Late one autumn evening, four of us, my cousin Aaron, my friend Mia, my younger brother Tyler, and me, stood at the edge of an overgrown lot at the far end of town. Looming before us was the Holloway House, an abandoned two-story structure that had been empty for decades. Its windows were boarded, the roof sagged like a broken spine, and the front porch tilted to one side as though it were trying to shake off visitors. Nobody lived there, not since the Holloway family vanished one night in 1987, leaving behind half-eaten dinners and a dog tied in the backyard that had starved. People said the place had been cursed ever since, but that was the kind of story kids repeated without really believing. Still, I felt uneasy as I stared at it. The house wasn't just empty. It seemed watchful, like it had a memory of who'd walked inside and who never came back out. The air around it smelled faintly of mildew and copper, damp but metallic, almost like blood. The lot was surrounded by tall grass and twisted trees, their branches black silhouettes against a dull gray sky. The house seemed to breathe with the shifting wind, creaks and groans echoing from within, though no one had stepped inside yet. I glanced at Aaron, who smirked and shoved me forward. "You first," he said. Inside, the air was colder, almost unnaturally so, as if the house had trapped decades of winter in its walls. Our flashlights cut thin beams through the darkness, landing on peeling wallpaper, broken picture frames, and furniture draped in moldy sheets. Dust floated like ash in the stillness, disturbed by every cautious step. Tyler whispered that he thought he saw something move near the staircase, but when we aimed our lights, there was nothing, just a railing split down the middle and shadows that clung too tightly to the corners. We laughed nervously, the sound bouncing hollow against the empty rooms, but it was the kind of laughter that cracked easily into silence that we moved deeper, passing through what must have been the dining room. A long wooden table, warped and buckled, still held a rusted candelabra. Plates and silverware were scattered across the floor, as if someone had dropped them mid-meal. One plate still had a hardened crust of food on it, decades old, but disturbingly intact. Mia bent closer, shining her light, and swore she saw a fresh bite taken out of it, as if someone had just eaten there. Aaron barked a laugh, claiming it was just rot, but none of us wanted to look too long. Something about the house felt frozen in time, not decayed the way it should have been after 35 years. That's when we heard it, the unmistakable sound of footsteps upstairs. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Each one pressed into the silence until it filled the room. We all froze, eyes darting upward toward the ceiling. Aaron's bravado slipped for a second, though he forced a grin and whispered, "Probably just raccoons." But we knew better. These weren't scurrying, scratching noises. These were human steps. They paused directly above us, in the very center of the ceiling, like whoever, or whatever, was up there knew exactly where we stood. The air felt like it collapsed in on itself, the silence after each step louder than the creaks themselves. Tyler's hand gripped mine so tightly his nails dug into my skin. And for the first time, I wished we had never come here. After I uploaded The Girl from Apartment 2B, my channel analytics started glitching. Every video froze at 2 minutes and 3 seconds, the same moment from every story. Viewers began sending me screen recordings showing their computers freezing at exactly 2:03 a.m., followed by flickering lights or faint knocking in the background. I thought it was a coordinated hoax until I checked one clip where a pale face appeared behind the viewer, staring directly into their webcam. One night, while reviewing the footage myself, my computer locked up. The screen showed my paused video, timestamp 2:03, and my webcam light turned on by itself. I saw my reflection on the monitor, pale and tense, and behind me, something moved. The image glitched, and for a single frame, there it was, that same tall figure from the previous submissions, standing right behind my chair. When I tried deleting the file, my desktop froze, and a new folder appeared titled Submissions. Inside were video clips from people I'd never met, terrified faces whispering that they'd seen him too. One showed a clock stopped at 2:03. Another, an empty room where faint breathing echoed for exactly 2 minutes and 3 seconds. I didn't download them. They just appeared. The next night, my computer recorded itself while I slept. In the morning, I found the video, titled 203u.mp4. It showed me sitting at my desk, but my face wasn't right. The other me stared into the camera and whispered, "Don't stop reading the stories." Then came the same knocking, 3 slow taps, a pause, and 2 more. My screen went black, and the clock in the corner blinked 2:03 a.m. now. Every time I try to record, my mic picks up whispers I can't hear in real life. Sometimes, the files upload themselves before I can stop them. And if you're watching this right now, check the time. If it's 2:03 a.m., don't look at your screen too long. Because once you see him, he knows you've seen him too. For a week, my channel went silent. I didn't upload, didn't record, didn't even turn on my equipment. Still, subscribers claimed new videos were appearing. No thumbnails, no titles, just static images of my studio, and the same timestamp burned into the corner, 2:03 a.m. When I finally checked my page, there was a new upload I hadn't made. The title was simple, 203eyes.mp4. It already had over 60,000 views that I hit play. The video opened with grainy, handheld footage, stitched clips from different phones and cameras around the world. People in bedrooms, living rooms, parking lots. Each recording stopped at 2:03 a.m., each showing the same dark silhouette appearing somewhere in the frame. In one clip, a man glanced at his reflection in a TV screen and screamed. In another, a child pointed at the corner of the room and said, "He's watching again." The sound under all of it was faint breathing, mixed with static. Halfway through, the footage shifted. The faces of viewers began replacing one another. Hundreds of them, flickering faster and faster, eyes wide, mouths open, as if caught mid-scream. Then the camera panned to a mirror, showing a dim studio setup. My studio. And in the reflection, I was there, sitting at my desk, unmoving, eyes fixed on the screen. I hadn't recorded that. I hadn't even been home. The video ended abruptly, replaced by black. But then, for just 1 second, the image returned. A close-up of dozens of eyes staring directly into the camera, overlapping, twitching, blinking out of sync. They weren't human anymore. My phone buzzed immediately after with a message from an unknown number. It said, "Thank you for spreading us." That night, I tried deleting the channel entirely. It didn't work. My browser froze, and when the page reloaded, there was a live stream already running under my account. Me, sitting in darkness, whispering words I couldn't hear. The chat exploded with panic, everyone saying the same thing. "He's behind you." I turned toward the reflection in my monitor and saw another pair of eyes staring back. They weren't mine. When the channel went dark, I thought the nightmare was over. I'm Marcus Hale, digital forensics analyst for the Ohio Cybercrime Division. I was assigned the True Scary Subscriber Stories case after YouTube reported unauthorized live streams broadcasting from an account whose owner was listed as missing. The strange part was this. Every upload came from different global IP addresses, some from servers that didn't exist anymore. I was tasked to trace them, copy the data, and shut it down. The first drive I received was labeled offline_203. It supposedly contained raw video fragments linked to the channel. I loaded the data on an isolated machine. No network, no cloud connection. Still, the files behaved like they were online. They reorganized themselves, forming a single playable video. The title changed as I watched, "The Offline File." Against protocol, I pressed play. The screen showed static at first, then dozens of overlapping feeds, security cameras, phone videos, even dashcams, all freezing at 2:03 a.m. In each frame, there was movement, a figure stepping into view, sometimes in reflections, sometimes behind people's shoulders. One clip showed the missing narrator sitting at his desk, eyes rolled back, whispering, "It doesn't need Wi-Fi anymore." The feed glitched, and suddenly the image on my own monitor flickered, showing me sitting at my workstation, watching myself that I killed the power immediately. But when the monitors shut off, the reflection in the black screen didn't fade. For just a second, the figure remained, standing over my shoulder, its face obscured except for the eyes, too many eyes, blinking out of sync. I left the lab that night, shaking, and took the hard drive home, thinking maybe it was just exhaustion. But now, every night at 2:03, my computer turns on by itself. The drive reconnects, even unplugged. Last night, I found a new folder on my desktop, live_203. Inside is footage of me sleeping, recorded from an angle above my bed. I live alone. The file updated 30 minutes ago. That means it's still recording. I hadn't slept in 3 days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that folder, live_203, updating by itself. The files were endless, looping, growing larger, as if they were feeding on something unseen. I had to know where it came from. Tracing the network logs from the corrupted drive, I found a single repeating source, an old broadcasting relay outside Dayton, shut down since 1998. The signal was still active, pulsing faintly on an unused frequency. That's where I went. The building was half collapsed, its doors chained but easy to pry open. Inside, dust hung in the air like fog. Rows of dead monitors lined the walls, their screens cracked and burned out, except one. It glowed faintly with blue static. The power grid was disconnected, yet the monitor hummed. I approached it carefully, and that's when I heard it. A faint knocking sound echoing through the hall, 3 slow taps, a pause, then 2 more. My watch read 2:03 a.m. The screen flickered, and a grainy image appeared, a live feed of the station's interior, filmed from an angle directly behind me. I spun around. Nothing was there. But in the feed, I could see movement, something tall, standing where I had just been. The camera view shook as though someone was breathing into the lens. When I leaned closer, the figure's head tilted toward me, its many eyes blinking at once. The audio crackled with a voice that whispered, "Thank you for coming back." I tried to leave, but every door I'd entered through was now locked. The hallway stretched longer than before, lined with more screens, each showing footage of me in real time, from angles that didn't exist. My flashlight flickered, and for a moment, I saw faces pressed behind the glass of every monitor. The missing narrator, Elena from Apartment 2B, and dozens more, all staring out, their eyes moving in perfect unison that I found an exit through a service hatch and stumbled out into the rain. But even outside, the faint static hum followed me. My car radio turned on by itself, the frequency locked on 203.0 FM. Through the static, I heard my own voice whispering, "It's not online anymore." Then came the same knock, not on the car door, but from inside the dashboard. I left the engine running and walked away into the dark. Case report hashtag 203A, Dayton County Police Department, recovered audio file. Rec_203 final.wave, origin. Found at the Dayton Broadcasting Station, 02:03:47 a.m. filed by Officer L. Winters date, September 14. Transcript begins, 02:03:01 a.m. Low static. Rain in background. Faint breathing. Marcus Hale. Okay, it's recording. If someone finds this, I think I figured it out. It's not a virus. It's not even code. It's something inside the signal. It spreads through recordings, reflections, cameras, anything that sees. Thumping noise, 3 knocks, a pause, then 2 more. Marcus Hale. No. It followed me here. It's using the cameras and the walls. Every time I disconnect one, another turns on. I can see myself on the monitors, but it's not me anymore. It's smiling. Static increases. Unintelligible whispers in background. Words repeated faintly. Keep watching. Marcus Hale. It needs eyes. That's why it spreads online. The videos, the views, every person who looks at it gives it more to become. That's why he breathes heavily. That's why it's called 203 eyes, screech of feedback. Microphone distorts. Marcus Hale. I shut the power off. I thought that would stop it. But it doesn't need the grid. It doesn't need the internet. It's in us now. Reflections, cameras, even glass. It sees through them all. Long silence. Then, a single whisper close to the mic, not Marcus's voice. Unknown voice, you're watching right now. Audio warps. Final noise resembles multiple people breathing in sync. Recording ends abruptly at 2:03:59 a.m. Post-record analysis. Forensic teams confirmed no power source was active during recording. The file appeared on a disconnected hard drive at exactly 2:03 a.m., timestamped 2 days after Marcus Hale's disappearance. Investigators who played the file reported temporary signal interference in surrounding devices. Some described seeing faces in the reflection of the evidence room glass. The tape was sealed under Case 203A. It now sits in evidence storage. The report notes that each time the file is accessed, the timestamp resets to 2:03 a.m., no matter the hour. I'm Rachel Lynn, freelance journalist for Deep Signal magazine. My editor sent me the 203 file last week, an urban legend tape tied to disappearances across Ohio. The assignment was simple: fact-check it, write a skeptical piece, and move on. But when I opened the police transcript, something felt wrong. The case file was dated only 2 days old, yet the attached video already had thousands of views, uploaded anonymously under the title 203eyes_live. I started digging through old broadcast records and found a connection. The Dayton station Marcus Hale investigated was once part of an early internet relay network called Project Echelon, used in the late 90s for experimental satellite signals. Officially, it was dismantled. Unofficially, the frequencies it used were still active, repeating faint transmissions every night at 2:03 a.m. The strange part? Those signals carried embedded video data, identical to Marcus's recovered files. By the third night of my research, weird things started happening. My laptop camera light flickered on by itself. My browser opened to the same YouTube page over and over, 203eyes_live. The stream showed a static-filled room that looked just like my apartment, except for one difference. In the stream, I was already sitting at my desk, typing this exact story. And behind me, barely visible in the dark, was someone standing perfectly still. That I tried turning off my Wi-Fi, but the stream kept running. It wasn't broadcasting to the internet, it was broadcasting from it. I took my camera apart, pulled the power cord, shut off every device. Still, my reflection on the black screen kept moving, even after I did. It raised a hand and pressed a finger to its lips. For the first time, I realized the sound wasn't coming from my speakers. It was coming from inside the walls. Now it's happening everywhere. Forums fill with posts from people saying the same thing. They hear knocking at 2:03, their screens glitch with mirrored versions of themselves, their cameras light up when they sleep. The official 2:03 Eyes stream has over 1.2 million viewers, and it never ends. My editor stopped answering emails. The last thing he sent me was a single sentence: "Don't look at your reflection after midnight." I'm finishing this story before 2:03. I just checked the clock. I have 1 minute left. No one knows who started the stream. Some say it was Rachel Lynn's article that triggered it. Others swear the system went live on its own. But by midnight, every online platform, YouTube, Twitch, news sites, even government servers, went dark for exactly 60 seconds. When they came back online, a single stream was broadcasting everywhere under one name: 203eyes_final. No channel, no owner, no origin. Just the same familiar static and the same faint breathing underneath it all. At first, it looked like a replay of the original video. Distorted clips, overlapping voices, flashes of faces we'd seen before. But soon the feed changed. Cameras across the world began connecting to it, unprompted. Street security footage, doorbell cameras, laptop webcams, all showing people watching their own screens. Each viewer stared, transfixed, whispering something only they could hear. The timestamp on every feed synced to 2:03 a.m., no matter the time zone. Then came the voice. It wasn't Marcus or Rachel or the missing narrator from the channel. It was all of them, speaking together, layered and distorted, echoing through the static. We needed to be seen. The signal pulsed once, and suddenly, every reflection caught on camera blinked. Not in sync with their human counterparts, but half a second behind. Across the world, people reported seeing their reflections smile first. Governments tried cutting power grids. They shut down satellites, pulled servers offline, even detonated relay stations like the one outside Dayton. None of it mattered. The signal kept broadcasting, not from machines anymore, but from the residual light in every reflective surface. Windows, mirrors, even puddles began faintly glowing at night. Scientists called it a mass psychogenic event. But those who looked too long said otherwise. They said the faces behind the glass were still changing. The final footage came from an abandoned studio, the original set of True Scary Subscriber Stories. The camera shook as someone entered the frame, their features warped but familiar. It was the missing narrator, or what was left of him. He looked straight into the lens and whispered, "Stories need listeners. You watched. Now you're part of it." The stream glitched, split into 1,000 reflections, and then went black. But the timestamp remained frozen at the corner of every screen. 2:03 a.m.